Hi, it's me, Tea Leaves. This is part 4 of the Tea Tales Do Pirates Dream. I didn't get to finish it the other day. My phone died. And also, I made a little short video for her, but just in case I don't actually put that one up. Happy birthday, Terry. That's why I look the way I do. She likes me a little spooky. So, she's 29 today. And so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and read. Oh, by the way, see, ta-da! I got my little background and everything. Unfortunately, Brandon Lee keeps falling. Sorry, it's a poster. Anyway, okay. So where we left off, I think where we left off the other day. He was staring at his phone and not paying any attention to her. He had a troubled look on his face. She began running water into the sink over her feet. Then, holding the broom to the side of the counter, she leaned back and began sweeping the floor. The motion of the broom swinging past him caught his attention. He looked up at her, sitting on the counter, with her feet, both her feet in the sink, while rowing the broom. Instantly, his face went from troubled and angry to smiling and shaking his head at her. He stepped towards her. She placed the folded towel on her head and used the paper towel roll as a telescope. "Arr," she said, looking at him, her eyebrows low, but she couldn't keep them that way. Her laughing kept them bouncing back up and down as he leaned against the counter, resting his head on his hands. He looked up at her. It was unusual for him because he was tall. People usually asked him what the weather was up there. But he really didn't mind it, listening to her and her sea shanty. "Arr," she said, again in the pirate accent. "I could be a pirate." And she attempted to wink by scrunching one eye. He chuckled, saying most genuinely, "You sure should be." She beamed at him with such a tickled radiance, like a flash of light. Michael knew of only 2 times in his life that he had ever truly desired to kiss someone. His sister, as she laid in her coffin, and now. Sadly, the same thing that stopped him from kissing her, something, was still the same thing that stopped him from kissing the little pirate. Oh, no, from kissing Jen. But he vowed someday that one day he was going to kiss that little pirate. She smiled down at him, but then cocked her head at him, saying, "You seem troubled." She was soft, innocent, and in ways kind of childlike. She would soon learn about the impeachment with the rest of the world. Truly none of them needed to worry, but he and his crew were about to be very busy or very bored. But definitely not her. She had pirate things to worry about. He shook his head. "This," he said, holding up his phone, "and you needn't worry." She started to shake her head in protest, saying, "No, not your phone," but she stopped. Then her eyes lit up again. "My friend Terry, for my birthday." Sorry. This is funny. "My friend Terry, for my birthday, she got me this book called the Pirate Primer, and she said I could learn to be a proper pirate." "Oh, really?" he said, putting his phone in his pocket. "Then they do have a book out there teaching people how to be pirates." "Yes, but I'm the captain," she cried, out raising her finger. He tilted his head at her and raised his eyebrows at her, then stood up, making him taller than her. She looked up and scrunched her lips to one side, smiling. Closing her eyes and then opening them. "Oh, you'll always be my captain, but on the ship," her eyebrows went up and down as she smiled, "I'm the pirate captain." "Oh, really?" He liked the use of her words. "Well, pirate captain," he nodded, closing his eyes, "your ocean is about to flood over." And he pointed at the sink. She smiled. 'cause he had called her a pirate captain. "Ah," she said, "but yes, you're quite right. Ha!" She turned the water off and unstopped the drain. "Good eye, sir. We were almost sunk to Davy Jones' locker." He said, smiling. She lifted her feet and swung them away opposite him on the counter. She put her feet down to scoot, but forgot that they were wet and slippery. She started to slide a little too quickly over the edge. Luckily, somehow, the moment she lifted her dripping feet from the water, he foresaw this, and the moment she swung away from him, he also knew he should probably get to the other side. He stood in the way, his hand on her shoulder, stopping her from falling off. She gasped, looked up, and smiled. She pointed down, and then said, "We almost found World's End." He breathed in deeply and said, She slid down off the counter. Oops. Pages are stuck together. I could never read in a professional sense, could I? A couple crumbs fell to the floor from somewhere in her clothes. "Oops," she said, and placed the back of her hand against her forehead, and then to her cheeks. "Oops?" he asked. Her hand was under her chin. She pointed to the floor with her other hand. He looked down. Crumbs. There aren't a lot, but still, don't want to take a chance of the dogs eating them," she said, a worried expression on her face. She reached down to start cleaning them up by hand, but he leaned down and gently grabbed her by the shoulders, guiding her to stand up. When he saw her face, he could see that she looked flushed. She looked at him, puzzled, but he stepped away from her to the main aisle. He snapped, and the dogs stood to attention. With one German word command, and then the dogs disappeared into the warehouse. He looked back at her. The dogs have gone to bed and will not return until called. Plenty of time to clean up the crumbs, but not tonight. He opened a door that she had not noticed before. "Oh, okay," she said as she turned and walked around the counter to retrieve her cup. "I have bottles of water, better than disgusting tap water," he said, eyeing her plastic cup in her hand. "I'm fine with tap water," she smiled at him. Then her head tilted to the side and down, giving him a low eyebrow, "Wait a minute" type stare. "Oh, you mean it's not your number one yummy? Huh?" she said, pointing her finger up in the air, mimicking him from earlier, with her eyes bouncing in laughter. He looked as if he was about to protest, and then tried looking away to hide his smile. She leaned her whole body to the side so that she could see his face. "Uh-huh," she said knowingly. He looked back at her, eyebrows raised, some of his smile still lingering, till he saw her leaning, and then his smile came back to bringing a chuckle with it. He gestured with his head for her to come on towards the door. She stood up straight, looked around, and then noticed the icing still sitting out on the counter. "Okay, but I need to put the icing away," she said as she turned from him. He gently grabbed her arm, shaking his head. There couldn't be much left anyway. She started to protest then turned and walked through the door. She stopped and turned to look at him. True, I suppose, most of it did end up on our faces. She smiled up at him. He smiled back as he placed his hand on her back to usher her forward, and he started closing the door behind them. "Uh-huh." He said. You could still hear their conversation as the door closed. "I think a lot of it ended up between your legs," she giggled. "True, because most of it ended up in your hair. You could hear their laughter through the closed door as they made their way through the hallway. "Hey, whatever happened to that last cupcake?" she asked. Not sure," he answered. "You probably put it away and just forgot." That's true," she said. "I'm sure it will turn up later." He reassured her. "Probably." So she responded. Upstairs there was a blinking light on a shelf in Michael's desk. He pulled out a computer sitting and then sat down and opened it to a password screen. She had been standing next to him till then, but moved away when she saw the password screen. She had forgotten her bag downstairs, but she wasn't going to bother Michael. She would just make do. Setting the plastic cup down on a shelf, she grabbed a sheet off the bed, walked to the bathroom, laying the sheet down on the counter, and then stepped into the shower, clothes and all. She turned on the water and helped herself to all the soaps. She doused herself with soap and started scrubbing herself from head to toe. Her eyes closed with suds, so she didn't notice him standing in the doorway. She had left it open, figuring he would come in. Oh, darn that contract, she thought, and shook her fists in the air while growling. It kind of made her angry. It was because he had said one time and then he would be done, and then she had written that into the contract. But she didn't want one time with him. She wanted, about 4 or 5 times. In the kitchen, sometimes in the bedroom, the living room, maybe once or twice in the car. Oh, definitely a time or 2 on the desk. Then, of course, there was the big comfy chair. Yep, that would be fun. Hey, even the chairs in the warehouse. She smiled greedily. Maybe he would let his pirate captain chain him. Oh, that would be fun. The fun that they would have. Yes, she was definitely excited about him. But only once? The thought made her sad, because as fun as it would be, and then it wouldn't be. Because it was him. She had dreamed of someone like him. She had prayed for it. Was he the answer? The answer to her question? She had asked God the night that she had left. Probably not, because most assuredly he was evil. But still, maybe this place and the experiences were God's answer for her to continue her mission. After this place. And then when she would leave. Leave Michael, the crew, the dogs? Leave Michael? But what if she didn't want to? What if she was starting to care? But could he? Maybe he already did. Some of the looks that he had given her tonight. I sure should be a pirate. He called me pirate captain. She giggled, then a few tears that no one could see because she was standing in the shower alone. Michael had been standing in the doorway, but when he saw her get angry, shake her fists, and growl, he left. He had his own rules, but he couldn't help feeling conflicted. Now, some of this I might have to skip, because I don't want to give something away that was from the beginning in case I ever do actually do something with the story. And I've been considering it, because I think one of the reasons I've been depressed the last few days is because I have this feeling like nobody would ever want to hear this story. I mean, I can't blame anybody. It's not really all that great. But it still hurts a person when they put something together and it's nothing to anybody else. So I might end up doing something with it. Probably fix it for sure, because I can tell you already several times where I've had to stop myself from stopping myself to change the grammar or the way something was worded or whatever. Because I know there's a few times that it gets really whiny. It's awful. It was funny because actually my friend Terry, who I was saying happy birthday to, we read the 50 Shades of Grey stories together. We got them on our Kindles and read them at the same time, sometimes to each other, I think. And we both agreed that she just sounded so horrible, so whiny all the time. And then when I started writing this, I looked back at it and I was like, I sound the same. It's awful. Absolutely. So yeah, I definitely would want to fix that. I mean, sometimes there is a whininess. Yes, it's true, but sometimes not. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to continue on. Hopefully I get to the spider one. Oh, that's a fun one. That's actually something I wrote in college. And then I always knew that there was something more to it, but I just never knew. And then when I had the dream about kind of the rest of it, it was just like, oh, I like it. But it might end up being another video. Stay. The crow moved. Okay, sorry. Okay. Actually, technically, I'm past the part that I wanted to read, so I might stop anyway. Because I don't know it's been a while since I read this, so I don't know what's coming up. But anyway, let's see here. yeah. Yeah, I'm going to stop on that one for now. So, for now, bye.